I collapsed on the kitchen floor, one hand gripping the counter, the other clutching my side. The pain in my ribs felt real enough. Or maybe it was just the weight of everything I suspected but couldn't yet prove. The tile was cold against my cheek. I lay there unmoving, silent, waiting. From the hallway I heard footsteps, fast, frantic. She gasped. "Marcus?" She stood over me for less than 5 seconds, then her voice changed. Quieter. Rushed. I heard the sound of her phone unlocking. Not a call to 911, not to my brother. Instead, I heard her whisper, "It's happening. You need to come now." That was all I needed to know. 3 weeks earlier, I'd come home from spinal surgery. 2 herniated discs, years of damage from being a firefighter, now catching up to me. I was supposed to rest, heal, trust. But the moment I walked through the front door, something felt off. My wife Lena had been distant, her hugs shorter, her smile strained. She cooked, she cleaned, but her eyes were somewhere else. I'd spent 12 years running into burning buildings without hesitation, but now, lying on the floor of my own kitchen, I felt a different kind of fire. And I knew, this time, I wouldn't be the one getting burned. I met Lena during a spring thunderstorm in 2010. I'd just finished a 24-hour shift and stopped by the grocery store to grab a frozen pizza and some aspirin. She was standing near the front under the awning, trying to shield a grocery bag from the rain. Her umbrella had flipped inside out. I remember thinking it was the kind of cliché moment they put in movies, only messier and real. I offered her. "Fine," and she smiled and said, "Only if you walk me to my car with it." She drove a dented blue Corolla with a cracked taillight and one of those little pine tree air fresheners swinging from the rear view. On the passenger seat were 3 books on childhood psychology and an empty coffee cup with the name Lena scrawled in red marker. I learned she was a 2nd-grade teacher, had grown up in Cincinnati, and had moved here after a breakup that left her more exhausted than heartbroken. I told her I was a firefighter. She didn't blink or act impressed. She just said, "That must be a lot on your body." It was the first time someone saw past the title and into the wear it left behind. We started seeing each other regularly after that. Quiet dinners, long walks, movies at home. There was nothing flashy about us, and maybe that's why it worked so well. Lena had a way of listening without interrupting, of making even silence feel like conversation. A year later, we were married in a modest courthouse ceremony. No big wedding, no long guest list. Just a few friends, her sister, and my firehouse crew. We spent our honeymoon in Asheville, hiking trails that left me more winded than I'd admit. In those early years, Lena was the calm to my chaos. Firefighting took a toll, physically, mentally. There were nights I came home and sat in the shower for 45 minutes, letting hot water beat the smoke out of my pores. She never pried. She'd just leave a towel folded on the sink and warm up leftovers. We bought a small house on the east side, 2 bedrooms, fenced yard, a kitchen that always felt slightly tilted no matter how much I leveled the floor. It was ours. I refinished the deck one summer. She planted lavender by the window. We tried for kids. 2 years in, Lena had a miscarriage at 10 weeks. We didn't talk about it much after that. It wasn't out of avoidance, it was more like shared pain that didn't need words. Afterward, something shifted. Lena poured herself into work, picking up extra duties, staying late. I threw myself deeper into the department, volunteering for double shifts, helping train the new guys. We told ourselves we were just keeping busy, but space has a way of growing if you don't fight it. Still, we had good years. Vacations to the mountains, birthdays with too much cake, lazy Sundays, spent fixing leaky faucets and arguing about paint colors. I thought we were solid. Maybe a little tired, maybe a little dull, but that came with time, didn't it? The first real sign came in 2020, after I hurt my back during a rescue. Lena was quiet that night. I was on pain meds and couldn't move much. She sat next to me watching TV, but never once looked my way. When she finally spoke, it was to say, "You need to think about what comes next." I thought she meant retirement. I didn't know she meant something else. The injury got worse over the years. By early 2023, I was scheduled for spinal surgery. It was serious. 2 vertebrae were nearly collapsed, and there was a real chance I'd walk with a cane afterward. Lena helped pack my hospital bag, kissed my forehead, and said, "Come back better." I wanted to believe her. After surgery, I spent a week in the hospital, then came home to recover. Lena had rearranged the living room so I could rest on the recliner without climbing stairs. She'd made soup, printed out my prescriptions, labeled every pill bottle. But something was missing. The way she touched my arm. Light, like touching a stranger. The way she laughed. Shorter, more guarded. And at night when she thought I was sleeping, she'd whisper into her phone, giggle at jokes I couldn't hear, and disappear into the guest room with her laptop. I told myself I was imagining it, that it was just stress, that pain meds were messing with my head. But there's something about firefighters. We know when smoke means fire. So I watched. I listened. I waited. And I started preparing, not just my heart, but my options. The first time I knew for sure, it was a Tuesday afternoon. The kind of day where the world looks normal. Sun through the blinds, dogs barking in the distance, the neighbor mowing his lawn like nothing could possibly be wrong. I was sitting in the recliner, ice pack strapped to my lower back, flipping through a magazine I'd already read twice. Lena had left an hour earlier to run errands. Her voice was casual. Too casual. "I'll just be gone a little while," she said, keys jingling. "Call if you need anything." But she didn't take her purse, just her phone, and she was wearing the red blouse. The one I bought her for our 10th anniversary. The one she said didn't fit right anymore. Funny how it fits again when she's not going out with me. 15 minutes after she left, I opened the iPad she'd forgotten to log out of. I didn't plan on it. I wasn't the snooping type. But something in my gut wouldn't let it go. At first, it was just normal stuff. School, emails, calendar invites, Pinterest recipes. Then I found the Uber receipts, 2 rides this week. Pickups near our house, drop-offs at a gym 20 minutes away. But Lena's gym was 5 minutes from us on the other side of town. I clicked further. A reservation confirmation from 3 nights ago, for 2, at a restaurant we'd never been to. The name on the confirmation, T. Myers. My heart didn't race. It slowed. Heavy. Cold. I put the iPad down and stared at the ceiling. She wasn't just drifting. She was gone. Emotionally, mentally, maybe physically, maybe all 3. And she was hiding it behind errands, behind late-night grading, behind that tired smile she gave me when I asked how her day went. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I got up, slowly, painfully, and went to the small lockbox in our closet. Inside were a few important papers, my old service pistol, and something I hadn't touched in years, a tiny GoPro camera I used to mount on my helmet. During rescues, I charged it, found an angle behind the bookshelf in the living room, and let it run the next day while Lena was at work. That evening, I played it back while she took a bath. At 1:42 p.m., the front door opened. Lena stepped inside, laughing. She wasn't alone. A man followed her, tall, maybe 35, tattoo on his forearm, backwards baseball cap, gym bag slung over one shoulder. He kissed her in our living room. The same room where we celebrated our anniversaries, where we put up our Christmas tree, where she once cried in my arms after the miscarriage. She kissed him back like they'd done it 100 times. They didn't stay long. 10 minutes, maybe less. She handed him something, looked like a folder. He left. She sat on the couch and stared at her phone for another 20 minutes, then left again. No explanation. No trace. I turned off the footage and sat in the dark. It wasn't even the cheating that broke me. It was how easy it was for her. How smooth. Like she'd rehearsed it. The next day, I did something I never thought I'd have to do. I called Derek, the lawyer. He'd helped me with my disability paperwork a year ago. Sharp guy. Former military himself. No small talk when I called, just, "Talk to me." I told him what I'd found. The Uber rides, the restaurant, the footage. "Have you confronted her?" "No," I said. "Not yet." "Good. Don't. Let me dig first. Quietly." Over the next 2 days, I did what I was trained to do. Observe, document, stay silent. I played weak, played tired. Lena acted the part of caretaker beautifully. Soup, gentle words, cool compresses on my head, but her phone never left her side. That Friday, Derek called me back. You sitting down? Mostly, I said, grimacing as I eased into the recliner. She's been moving money. That got my attention. What kind of money? Yours, he said. About $92,000 from your 401k was transferred into an account she opened last month. She forged a limited power of attorney using your old signature from the mortgage documents. I said nothing. My hands curled into fists, then released. She's also in the middle of a title reassignment on the house, transferring it from your name alone to joint ownership. Paperwork's in process. My name was on that deed because I bought the house 2 years before we got married. Paid every mortgage with money I earned running into fires. Can we stop it? Not yet, he said, but we can trap it. If you're willing to let me push further, do it, I said. I hung up and stared at the window. Outside, the sun was setting. I had always believed betrayal was loud, explosive, but now I knew the truth. Sometimes betrayal is silent. Sometimes it enters through the back door, slips off its shoes and smiles like nothing's wrong. But I wasn't done. I was just getting started. The next morning, I woke up before Lena, or maybe I'd never really slept. It's strange how betrayal sharpens you. You notice things you would have ignored before. The way she turned her back to me in bed. The fact that she took her phone into the bathroom and left it on silent. The new perfume I hadn't bought her. The gym bag by the door that stayed packed, even on days she claimed to stay home. After she left for work, I made coffee slowly, methodically, one-handed. My back still throbbed from the surgery, but the pain no longer felt like the enemy. It kept me grounded. Derek had given me instructions. Document everything. Keep receipts. Track her movements. No confrontations. No emotions, just data. So I started building my file. I labeled it Lena, evidence, cold, clinical, easier than writing my wife's betrayal. I pulled our financial statements. Anything that had my name attached to it, I flagged. I logged into the mortgage portal and took screenshots of the current ownership structure, still only in my name. Good. I had time. Then I checked the home security system. Lena didn't know I'd upgraded it a year ago. She thought the front cameras were just for show, a visible deterrent. What she didn't know was that I'd added 2 small indoor cameras, one in the entryway, one in the living room, hidden in the smoke detectors. Firefighters have access to all kinds of gear. Sometimes the habits follow you home. I watched the playback from Thursday. She'd left the house around 11 a.m., said she had a staff meeting. But around 11:15, a gray Dodge Charger pulled into our driveway. Same guy, Travis. He didn't come, in this time. Lena got into the passenger seat and they drove off. 15 minutes later, a ping from our joint Amazon account showed a delivery address I didn't recognize. An apartment complex across town. A new address. One I hadn't seen before. I called Derek. Got a new address. She's sending packages. There. Probably where he lives, he said. Or they're planning for her to move out and nest. Nest? He sighed. It's when the affair gets serious. They start building their new life before blowing up the old one. It made me nauseous hearing it put so plainly. But I needed the truth, not illusions. I want to hit pause on the house transfer, I said. Already filed a contestation. Now we wait for the system to process it. But there's something else. What? I dug into Travis Myers. He's not just a random guy. He's got priors. 2 charges of financial fraud, one dismissed, one sealed. He also has a business registered under a different name. What kind of business? Quick property sales. He specializes in getting homes sold under value fast, usually when someone's in a desperate situation. So she's trying to flip our house? I asked, stunned. Looks that way. He's done this before. 3 other cases. Divorced women, same profile. One of them had a restraining order filed after the guy tried to empty her retirement account. The pieces clicked into place. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a setup, a financial ambush. I wasn't just dealing with a cheating wife, I was standing in the middle of a well-practiced scam. And they thought I was too broken, too tired, too trusting to stop it. They forgot who I was. I've carried 200-pound men down, a burning stairwell with one lung full of smoke. I've stood in front of walls of flame and walked through them. I've been cut, burned, knocked down, and every time I got back up. I wasn't going to let two amateurs steal my life. So I set the trap. That night, I told Lena I wanted to get our finances in order. That recovery made me think about the future, that we should meet with someone together. An advisor, maybe an estate planner. She hesitated. Do we really need that right now? It would make me feel better, I said gently. The next day, I scheduled an appointment with a friend from the firehouse who'd gone into real estate law. We met over Zoom, Lena sitting beside me, trying to smile. My friend played it cool, asked her to send copies of any documents she'd signed in the last 6 months. Lena froze for just a moment. I don't think I've signed anything, she said. My friend nodded slowly. No problem. Just good to have it confirmed. After the call, I watched her leave the room. She didn't know I had already pulled the paperwork. Loan pre-approvals, forged power of attorney, and 3 email threads from her private account. Linked to that delivery address, everything was falling into place, and all I had to do was wait for her to walk into her own trap. 3 days later, Lena said she was going to visit her sister in Raleigh for the weekend. She packed light, too light. 1 overnight bag, no toothbrush, no charger. But she took that red blouse again, the one that suddenly fit so well when Travis was around. I helped her load the car, even managed a half smile. Be safe, I said, holding the door open. She kissed my cheek without looking me in the eye. As soon as her car was out of sight, I opened my laptop and launched the security app. The indoor cameras were set to motion-triggered recording. Every frame uploaded to cloud storage. Then I waited. 2 hours later, a car pulled into our driveway. Same gray Dodge Charger. Travis. He walked into my house like he owned it. No hesitation. No looking over his shoulder. He was on the phone, laughing. He helped himself to a drink from the fridge. Then, to my quiet satisfaction, he walked into the master bedroom. 15 minutes passed. Then came the knock. Another man, late 40s, wearing a blazer, holding a leather folder. Travis opened the door and waved him in, through the living room. Camera, I watched as they shook hands. Nice place, the new guy said. Not bad for a quick flip, Travis replied. I leaned closer to the screen. You're sure your name's on the deed? Soon enough, Travis said. She's transferring it this week, then we list it, split the take. And the husband? Recovering from surgery. He's half out of it, barely walks. Trust me, he won't see it coming. That was the moment I hit record screen. My lawyer Derek had advised me to collect real-time proof. So I captured every word, but the conversation wasn't over. The man in the blazer opened his folder. I need signatures on the disclosure forms. You know the drill. Travis pulled out a pen. I'll forge them now and she can re-sign later. Smart. My hands curled into fists on the desk. This wasn't just adultery. This was fraud, conspiracy, real estate fraud, forgery, and they were so casual about it. I forwarded the video clips to Derek immediately, then called his secure line. Timed away. Bring in the real cavalry, he said. You ready? I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. FBI's already got a flag on this guy from a previous case, Derek said. You give them this footage, and they'll jump. That night I slept better than I had in weeks. Lena came home Sunday evening with a fake tan and an empty bag. I asked how her sister was. She's doing great, Lena said. We didn't do much, just relaxed. I nodded. I'm glad, I said. You deserve some peace. She smiled, thinking she'd gotten away with it. The next morning I sat on the front porch with my coffee when 2 black SUVs pulled up down the street. No lights, no sirens, just quiet intent. The agents moved fast. I watched from the window as they approached Travis's car, parked illegally 3 doors down. He'd returned early, apparently confident. Maybe too confident. They arrested him right there. Lena's car was still in the driveway. I could see her through the kitchen window, frozen, phone in hand. I let it ring when she called me, then rang again, then a third time. Finally, I answered. Marcus, what's going on? There are men outside. FBI, I think. They're talking to Travis. Why is this happening? I was quiet for a long moment. Lena, I said calmly. I want you to do something for me. Anything, she breathed, panicked. Go check the smoke detector in the living room. She was silent. I waited. 30 seconds passed. Then she said, voice trembling, You've been watching? Every step, I replied, every word, every lie. But I didn't know he was doing all this. You thought I was too broken to notice, I said. But you forgot who I was before I got hurt, and I never stopped being that man. There was another pause. Then, Marcus, what happens now? I didn't answer. I hung. Up outside, the agents were placing Travis in cuffs. Inside, Lena stood in the kitchen we'd renovated together, finally realizing the walls were closing in. And me? I wasn't angry. I wasn't even satisfied. I was ready, because this wasn't revenge, this was justice, and I was just getting started. By noon, Lena was sitting across from me at the kitchen table, the same table where we used to plan vacations, talk about paint colors, or quietly share leftover pizza on a Tuesday night. Now her hands were shaking around a mug of untouched coffee. I didn't know, she said again. I swear, Marcus, I didn't know what he was doing. I thought we were just figuring things out. I didn't say anything, just watched her, the way you watch someone try to lie their way out of a hole they've already fallen too deep into. I mean, yeah, we were close. I made a mistake, but I never meant for you to get hurt. I didn't know about the forged signature. That was all Travis. I raised an eyebrow. You gave him my birth date, my social. You opened accounts in my name. And you thought what? He'd just help you redecorate? She blinked fast, swallowed hard. He said it was just temporary, that we were getting ahead on paperwork. He told me I'd get a share of the sale, something to start fresh. You didn't think I'd survive long enough to find out. The words hit her like a slap. She looked away, shame blooming behind her eyes. For the first time, she didn't deny it. I just felt so trapped, she whispered. You were always in pain, always angry or tired. I didn't know how to help you anymore. I didn't want to hurt you. I just wanted a way out. I nodded slowly. And the best way out was to empty my account and fake my signature? She opened her mouth, then closed it. I stood up and placed a manila folder on the table. What's this? She asked. Your options, I said. Inside were copies of the forged documents, the video transcripts, and a letter from Derek outlining the charges the FBI was preparing to pursue: conspiracy to commit fraud, financial misrepresentation, and attempted real estate theft. There were screenshots from the security cameras, bank statements, power of attorney papers with her handwriting. It was airtight. You'll sign a confession, I said. Full admission of forgery. You'll waive all claims to the house, the retirement funds, and my pension. In return, I won't press for criminal prosecution. She stared at the folder as if it might bite her. And if I don't, she said, voice barely above a whisper, then the FBI moves forward. They have enough to pursue this as a federal case. Your boyfriend already cut a deal. You'd go to trial and you'd lose. Lena let out a long, shuddering breath. You'd really do that? I looked her in the eyes. You already did. The silence between us was heavy. Not angry. Not dramatic. Just final. She signed. I made a copy of the document and handed the original to Derek. 3 weeks later, the house title was corrected. The fraudulent loan was reversed. The funds were returned. Travis pled guilty to multiple counts of fraud and was sentenced to 6 years. Turns out he'd pulled similar stunts in 3 other states. Lena's confession was included in the court record, but per our agreement, no charges were brought against her. She moved out quietly, 2 suitcases and a coat draped over her arm. No tears. No dramatic goodbye. Just a car pulling away from the curb and a memory that already felt distant. I stood at the door long after she was gone. It didn't feel like a victory. It felt like release. A week later, I listed the house. Too many ghosts in those walls. I sold it to a retired couple who planned to garden in the backyard and repaint the master bedroom a light green. I didn't tell them what had happened there. Some stories belong to the past. With the money, I bought a small cabin near Asheville. 2 bedrooms, wood stove. A creek that runs behind it, murmuring like a secret only the trees understand. I adopted a dog, an older lab named Murphy with one cloudy eye and a limp in his right leg. We matched. Some mornings I sit on the porch with a cup of coffee and watch the mist lift off the hills. I think about how close I came to losing everything. But I didn't, because I didn't react with rage. I responded with clarity, and I remembered who I was before the pain, before the betrayal. A man who runs into fire, but never gets burned twice. It's strange how peace doesn't come all at once. People think there's some grand moment, an apology, a sentence, a courtroom finale. But for me, it arrived slowly, in pieces, like ashes after a fire. Nothing dramatic, just the soft settling of what remains. 2 months after Lena left, I received a certified letter from the FBI. Inside was a short typed statement. Travis Myers pled guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud, forgery, and identity theft. He has been sentenced to 6 years in federal prison. There was a note attached, handwritten by one of the agents I'd worked with. Your documentation helped us uncover a larger fraud ring targeting injured veterans and retirees. We've launched 3 additional investigations based on the evidence you submitted. Thank you. I read it twice, then folded it neatly and pinned it to the inside of my cabinet, next to my service medals and a faded photo of my engine crew. No fanfare, no celebration, just a quiet knowing I'd done the right thing, and that was enough. A few weeks later, Derek stopped by the cabin with his teenage son. They were driving through on a weekend hike and brought fresh bread from a bakery in town. He handed me the loaf, then looked around at the place. This is good, he said. This suits you. I think so too, I replied. He was quiet for a moment, then added, You know, most guys would have snapped, gone after her, tried to ruin her, but you played it clean. I shrugged. I wasn't interested in revenge. I just didn't want her to get away with it. He nodded like he understood something deeper. Maybe he did. Sometimes I get texts from people I don't know, veterans, divorced dads, guys who heard the story secondhand through legal networks or online forums. They thank me. Tell me my story helped them watch their own backs, or gave them permission to walk away with dignity. One message came from a woman in Colorado. Her brother had been conned by the same group a year earlier, lost his house in the process, and blamed himself until the day he died. She wrote, If someone like you had spoken up earlier, maybe my brother wouldn't have died thinking he was a fool. Thank you for not staying silent. I sat with that one for a while, because truthfully, I almost had stayed silent. There was a moment lying on the kitchen floor when I thought about letting it all go. Let her have the house, the money. Let her build a new life on the ruins of mine. I was tired, numb, but something inside me, something older than pain, older than betrayal, refused. It wasn't pride. It wasn't vengeance. It was this belief that people should be held accountable, that trust isn't a weakness, that those who violate it don't get to walk away untouched. Lena sent me one last message about a month ago. I just wanted you to know I never meant for things to end the way they did. I hope you're okay. I didn't reply. Not because I hated her, I didn't. Honestly, I felt very little about her anymore. What once was love had simply turned to quiet distance, like a room you no longer enter, but leave untouched out of respect for what it used to mean. Murphy, my dog, stirred beside me as I watched the evening sun fall behind the trees. He let out a small sigh and rested his head on my foot. This was my life now. Quieter, slower, honest. Some days I carved wood for the locals, benches, birdhouses, custom shelves. Some days I just sat on the porch with coffee and silence. And every day I remembered this. You don't need to scream to be strong. You don't need to fight fire with fire. Sometimes, the sharpest justice comes without a single raised voice. Not with flames, but with facts. Not with fury, but with focus. Not with hate, but with walking away free.